All right, what's going on? This is part two to the fig tree. Now we're going to really get into it. We're going to get into it. Um, yeah, as you watch this video, this is part two. If you're starting with part two, definitely go to part one first, and then come to part two, and so forth, so forth. Um, yeah. So when I say people are speaking against this, they just don't have the knowledge, and they're basically condemning themselves to what they really think about the Israelites, the people who are speaking up, right? You're looked down upon, you so-called Negroes, Native Indigenous Indians, and Hispanics, and our Islander brothers in the confusion of face worldwide who come into this knowledge. All the nations look down on you, period. They're taught to look down on you. It's programming, okay? That Satan knows that you have, the only way you could get salvation or be saved or redeemed at the end is you got to listen to us. So his job is to deceive you, right? And the people who are with Satan, they reveal who they are with how they react to it. That's all they're doing when they're speaking against you and saying that they're Satan. But let's get into it. This is part two. It's going to start getting hotter now. Okay. In the beginning, it was a little bit, it's getting warm, but it's going to get hot. And it gets hotter and hotter as these videos will come out. The real Israelites are waking up. Anyone who doesn't believe it, doesn't know it, woe to them. Okay? Woe to them. Let's read. First foremost, give all praise, Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and all praise to you, lost sheep of the house of Israel, and the Gentiles who fear God. Let's get into it. First book of Adam and Eve, chapter 62, verses 1 through 6. Here we go. But Satan, the wicked, was envious because of the consolation God had given them. Right. So Adam and Eve have gotten the figs. It's consolation. It's your consolation prize. Getting your knowledge back. It's just the beginning. But Satan does not want you to have it. He's envious of you. The evil spirit of Satan is being redeemed to these people who speak against the truth. Let's read. So he prevented them and went into the cave and took the two figs and buried them outside the cave so that Adam and Eve should not find them. Right. When they took down Jerusalem, um, Satan knows that the word is your power. So he has to hide it from you. But even though he's trying to hide it, separate it, the Dead Sea Scrolls and all that stuff, he doesn't realize that's through the spirit and power of Yahushua. That's his plan because it's the fountain of living waters. It's infinite. So you're gonna find his word everywhere, right? Uh, the Bible itself is for the worthy and the unworthy. But when the men who are worthy get the Bible and then they start understanding these other parts, they're the ones who have the water. Let's read. He also had in his thoughts to destroy them. Right, because if Adam and Eve don't have the word, Israel doesn't have the word, they fall to their enemies. And he wants to kill you. Let's read. But by God's mercy, as soon as those two figs were in the earth, God defeated Satan's counsel regarding them and made them into two fruit trees. Right. So now he's trying to hide the word from you, but the Lord has given mercy or grace to the children of Israel. Now they're sprouting up. Let's read. Two fruit trees. Let's read. That overshadowed the cave. Right. So the you see brothers teaching this truth all over the world. Wherever you Israelites are in captivity, you might run into a brother or two standing on a corner telling you, hey, you the Israelites, right? For Satan had buried them on the eastern side of it, right? Your word was buried over away from where your captivity is, right? The Vatican, they have a lot of records there, et cetera, et cetera. Other places too. Let's read. Then when the two trees were grown and were covered with fruit, right? So you're going to get different pieces of fruit from these trees. Let's read. Satan grieved and mourned and said, better were it to have left those figs as they were. For now, behold, they have become two fruit trees, whereof Adam will eat all the days of his life. Whereas I had in mind, when I buried them, to destroy them entirely. Right. And to hide them for Right. So he wants to destroy this word. Okay. He wants to destroy it. And that's why when you say things like, oh, well, in that book of Adam and Eve, it says this, they don't want to believe that because it's not their word. The people who you've entrusted with your theologian, your Torah scholars, and all that, it's not their word. The Spirit of Christ does not deal with them. It only deals with the servants who are Israel. I don't care if it's a kid, child, if he understands some precepts, you better listen to what he's saying and go back to your house and start reading because it's on. Let's read. But God has overturned my counsel. It would not that this sacred fruit should perish. That's right. Got to come back out. And he made plain my intention and has defeated the counsel I have formed against his servants. Right. Now you're learning who Satan is, what he's doing to the Lord's servants because of these fig trees and these fruit trees. Let's read. Then Satan went away ashamed of not having wrought out his design. Right. He doesn't have any power over you. Right. He has no power over you. The power comes from on high. Your king is watching Israel. His spirit is dwelling amongst you. The fig trees are sprouting everywhere, giving you the fruit. Let's read. Chapter 63. But Adam and Eve, as they drew near to the cave, saw two fig trees covered with fruit. Right. Now you're walking around, you're seeing these brothers teaching the truth. Let's read. And overshadowing the cave, you can't get away from it. You're talking about it in your church, they scoffing against it. Your own family members and friends, they're scoffing against it. But you, one who's been chosen to believe, you're like, wait a minute, this happened everywhere. Let's read. Then Adam said to Eve, it seems to me we have gone astray. That's right. When did these two trees grow here? Right. But where did these brothers come from? I knew him a couple months ago. Right. Let's read. It seems to me that the enemy wishes to lead us astray. That's right. Sayest thou that there is in the earth another cave than this? Right. You don't even think you at home no more. You like, what is going on? Yet, O Eve, let us go into the cave and find in it the two figs that is in our cave in which we were. But if we should not find the two figs in it, then it cannot be our cave. They went then into the cave and looked into the four corners of it, but found not the two figs. And Adam wept and said to Eve, are we come to the wrong cave then, O Eve? It seems to me that these two fig trees are the two figs that were in the cave. And Eve said, I, for my part, do not know. Then Adam stood up and prayed and said, oh God, thou didst command us to come back to the cave, to take the two figs, and then to return to thee. Right. So the figs are the word. Right. That's how you return to your Lord. Not listening to some pastor, getting the fruit, the fig, the word, loving your Lord, and coming back to him. Let's read. But now we have not found them, O God. Hast thou taken them and sown these two trees? Or have we gone astray in the earth? Or has the enemy deceived us? If it be real, then, O God, reveal to us the secret of these two trees and of the two figs. That's right. Then came the word of God to Adam and said unto him, O Adam, when I sent thee to fetch the figs, Satan went before thee to the cave, took the figs, and buried them outside, eastward of the cave, thinking to destroy them, and not sowing them with good intent. Right. That's why you read some of these things, words are missing. They want to get rid of it. But through the Spirit and power of Yahushua, it's not going to happen. And not sowing them with good intent, deceiving you with what's written. Let's read. Not for his mere sake, then, have these trees grown up at once, but I had mercy on thee, the line of man, Adam, Israel, and I commanded them to grow. Right. So the Lord has his face on you, Israelites, the so-called blacks, native indigenous Indians, islanders. The fruit trees are your sign that your Lord is watching you and your captivity is coming to an end. He's having mercy on you now. Let's read. And they grew to be two large trees, that you may be overshadowed by their branches and find rest. That's right, because you've been in slavery. And that I make you see my power and my marvelous works. Right, because no one believes it. Right, because it's through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. right? That you're learning who you are, coming back to your knowledge. That's the power through the Spirit of the Lord. These people have no idea what they're dealing with. Let's read. And also to show you Satan's meanness and his evil. That's right, because a lot of you Israelites need to snap out of it. And his evil works. For ever since you came out of the garden, he has not ceased, no, not one day, from doing you some harm. But I have not given him power over you. Right. And God said henceforth, O Adam, rejoice on account of the trees. Right. When you see these trees, it's time to rejoice. Thou and Eve, and rest under them when ye feel weary, but eat not of their fruit, nor come near them. That's right. You don't join the camp. You hear the fruit, you go get your figs and you start reading. You don't go join up with these camps. They're a tool by the Lord. But he says, don't join up with them, nor come near them. Right? Let's read. Then Adam wept and said, O God, wilt thou again kill us, or wilt thou drive us away from before thy face, and cut off our life from all the face of the earth? O God, I beseech thee, if thou knowest that there be in these trees either death or some other evil as at the first time, root them up from near our cave, and wither them, and leave us to die of the heat, of hunger, and of thirst. Right. Because when you don't got these figs, that's all that happens to you Israelites. You die. You get oppressed, the beasts of the field, the wicked ones destroy you. You're seeing it now. Let's read. For we know thy marvelous works, O God, that they are great, and that by thy power thou canst bring one thing out of another, without one's wish. For thy power can make rocks to become trees, and trees to become rocks. That's right. Let's read chapter 64, verses 1 through 9. So we know when you see the fig tree, you find rest in it, right? Rejoice, but don't you come near them, because there's the fig tree, and then there's the olive tree. Let's read. The God looked upon Adam and upon his strength of mind and his endurance of hunger and thirst and of heat. During your strength of mind, not selling out in your captivity, but enduring because it's hard for you. Let's read. And he changed the two fig trees into two figs as they were at first, and then said to Adam and Eve, each of you may take one fig. And they took them as the Lord commanded them. And he said to them, go ye into the cave and eat the figs. Right. Go into your home, your captivity, and eat the figs. Let's read. And satisfy your hunger, lest ye die. Right. Lest you die. You don't eat these figs, Adam, Israel. You will die. Let's read. So as God commanded them, they went into the cave about the time when the sun was setting. That's right. And Adam and Eve stood up and prayed at the time of the setting sun. Then they sat down to eat the figs, but they knew not how to eat them. Right? You first find out this truth, you're like, man, how am I supposed to read this thing? That's right. Just read it. Let's read. For they were not accustomed to earthly food. They feared also lest if they ate, their stomachs should be burdened, and their flesh thickened, and their hearts take to liking earthly food. While they were thus seated, God, out of pity for them, sent his angel, lest they should perish of hunger and thirst. Right, through the spirit of the angel, you're going to get this understanding. Let's read. And the angel said unto Adam and Eve, God says to you that you have not strength to fast until death. Eat therefore and strengthen your bodies, for ye are now animal flesh that cannot subsist without food and drink. That's right. There's no greater thing that a man should eat and drink. That's right. The spirit, the Lord knows you're eating the figs. He's going to send his spirit to guide you in his doctrine. Not your camp leader, not your pastor, not your homie that reads 2 precepts every 2 years. The spirit of Yahushai comes on those who is supping with him. Let's read. Then Adam and Eve took the figs and began to eat of them. But God had put into them a mixture as of savory bread and blood. That's right. Let's read. Then the angel went from Adam and Eve, who ate of the figs until they had satisfied their hunger. Then they put by what remained, but by the power of God, the figs became full as before, because God blessed them. Right. When you study this word, it doesn't stop. Right. It gets full again, because When you first read it, you're just trying to get understanding, right? But as you really start studying it more, things start popping out. Like, for example, I started reading the Bible again from Genesis, and I got all the way to First Samuel, and then some King David said, I'm like, oh, I need to find what he means by that. So I go all the way back to Adam and Eve, and I start all over again, and I'll read it all the way through, right through the 12 sons, all that, to find what he said. And then while you're doing that, other things pop out. So it gets full again. It keeps getting better and better because your understanding is growing through the spirit and power of your Lord because you're supping with him. Savory bread and blood. Let's read. And after this, Adam and Eve arose and prayed with a joyful heart and renewed strength. Right. You lift your head up now. You don't walk around like you used to. And praise and rejoice abundantly the whole of that night. And this was the end of the 83rd day. That's right. Bread and blood. Let's read the book of John, chapter 6, verses 47 through 58. This is how you know you're supping with the Lord. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me hath everlasting life. Believeth on the Spirit of Christ, not a man. Let's read that he will guide you, hath everlasting life. I am that bread of life. That's right. What did he give Adam and Eve? Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven. That's right. That a man may eat thereof and not die. Man, Israel. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. That's right. Money, meat, bread, and wine. Let's read. The Jews therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? They don't know everything. Let's read. Then Yahushua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Whoso eateth my flesh, and drinketh my blood, hath eternal life, and I'll raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eateth my flesh, and drinketh my blood, dwelleth in me, and I in him. As the living Father hath sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eateth me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. That's right. Matthew verses 26, chapter 26, verse 26 through 29. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples, his elect, chosen, great men, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Right? Because the disciples are they're the elect. They're his friends. They're dwelling up the eons. Right? Let's keep going. First book of Adam and Eve, chapter 65, verse 1 through 10. Let's get it. And when it was day, they rose and prayed after their custom, and then went out of the cave. But as they felt great trouble from the food they had eaten, right? Everything changes. Trouble. And to which they were not used, they went about in the cave saying to each other, what has happened to us through eating? What is going on with us? That's right. That this pain should have come upon us. Woe be to us, we shall die. That's right. Better for us to have died than to have eaten, and to have kept our bodies pure than to have defiled them with food. Right. That's why you know these people, these Christians and stuff, they walk around happy. They're not concerned about nothing. They're so delusional because they don't got the doctrine. Let's read. They didn't get the bread. Let's read. That Adam said to Eve, this pain did not come to us in the garden, neither did we eat such bad food there, Thinkest thou, O Eve, that God will plague us through the food that is in us, for that our inwards will come out, or that God means to kill us with this pain before he hath fulfilled his promise to us? Right. It's a fine line. You got to walk the line because he will destroy you. It doesn't matter who you are in Israel. You got to walk the line. There's no lukewarm or cold. You got to be hot. Let's read. You should be concerned every day, especially as you're watching these judgments roll out on our people. A lot of these young rappers getting killed. Some cop shot her, kicked in the wrong door, something like that. Judgment's coming out. Let's read. Then Adam besought the Lord and said, O Lord, let us not perish through the food we have eaten. O Lord, smite us not, but deal with us according to thy great mercy, and forsake us not until the day of the promise that thou hast made. Then God looked upon them, and at once fitted them for eating food, right? Strengthening you up, right? Be rooted in yourself. He strengthens you. Remember how Deuteronomy, I can't remember the chapter right off the bat. I think it's how shall one man chase 1,000, unless their Lord had sold him? Just that quick in Africa, you were taken down by the weaker ones with all your people. Now you're getting your strength back. Let's read. As unto this day, so that they should not perish. You got to be strong in this truth. Then Adam and Eve came back into the cave sorrowful and weeping because of the alteration in their nature. And they both knew that from that hour that they were altered beings, that their hope of returning to the garden was now cut off, and that they could not enter it. Right. Now you got to go through what the Lord has ordained with the covenant. For that now their bodies had strange functions, and all flesh that requires food and drink for its existence cannot be in the garden. That's right. Then Adam said to Eve, Behold, our hope is now cut off, and so is our trust to enter the garden. We no longer belong to the inhabitants of the garden, but henceforth we are earthly and of dust, and of the inhabitants of the earth. We shall not return to the garden until the day in which God had promised to save us, and to bring us again into the garden, you Israelites, as he promised us. Then they prayed to God that he would have mercy on them, after which their mind was quieted, their hearts were broken, and their longing was cooled down, and they were like strangers on earth. That's right, you're like a stranger on the earth. You're all by yourself because you got this food. You're an altered being. That night Adam and Eve spent in the cave, where they slept heavily by reason of the food they had eaten. That's right. That's going to be the end of part 2. I'm going to get into part 3 soon. It gets better and better and better. Trust me. People who are speaking against this truth, man, if you watch me, you know it. But everyone else, I don't know. A lot of these people, they're not watching. They're not paying attention to Israel, man. You're gonna know for sure who the Israelites are and who this is happening to. This is just sort of the beginning. I think it might go 3, 4, 5 parts. Depends on how long. Some of the parts are long, but that's right. The fig tree is the sign. You'll see. All praise the Most High God, Yahweh, and our King to come, Yahweh Shai. All praise you lost sheep of the house of Israel, and the Gentiles who fear God. Be on the lookout for part 3 coming soon. Shalom.